Hey, Kerry, how you doing?
Hey, good, thank you, Reed.
Yeah, thanks for joining today. I know it's a little early your time, like 5:36 a.m.
5:30 a.m. Yeah.
5:30 a.m. Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always I try to do a kind of a halfway between with people who can still be up a little bit late but still attend in Europe, and then also get up a little bit early but still be able to present from the Oceania area down south. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on today. I know, we were going to go into initially earlier in the year into some Deneb stuff, but then you showed me a couple of weeks ago some of the things related to this new visual that I've honestly not had any exposure to before, and even some interesting 3D mapping that it was doing. So things that
Mm.
I did not know you could do in Power BI. So I'm honestly pretty excited to go through some of that today for sure. A couple people also saying hi from Brazil, by the way.
Saying hi from, sorry?
Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Oh, wow. Wait,
Yeah.
what time is it there?
Not far off from West Coast. So I think I mean it's further east, so I'd maybe say like East Coast time if I was to
Okay.
guess, similar to New York.
A, a reasonable
But
hour then.
exactly. But I think to get started for a little bit, I'd love to hear a little bit of background about yourself. I will say also, since the last conversation we've had, I can also now congratulate you on your first year as an MVP. So well done on that. Absolutely, it's nice to get you part of that network, and I think the award is certainly well deserved.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so a little bit of, so I'm a data visualization consultant in sunny Adelaide, South Australia, by day. And an awful lot of community work with data visualization. I'm a blogger. So I have my own blog where I explore uh, different techniques within Power BI and have an awful lot of fun doing that. I also am a challenger for the Workout Wednesdays, Power BI Workout Wednesdays, which I really, really do enjoy. So each week we set a new challenge for people to come along and it's probably about half an hour a week of people's time just to try out new visualization techniques in Power BI and share them with the community. So I really like that. So that's where I kind of got onto Plotly. And I was looking for a new challenge a couple of weeks ago. So I found Plotly and created a scatter chart visual, which I know that there was a number of people in the Power BI community and forum for a connected feature itself. They couldn't find in Power BI, they couldn't find any means of doing it. Plotly, I saw could do this, and so I challenged, and I thought that was a really good demonstration of the capability. That's me.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime that I see anything that can help build out bespoke visualizations with ideally little to no code, I think is certainly a nice tool to add within the sets now that we have of Charticulator. We have Deneb and this one as well, and it's nice to see people continually blogging about new things that can be built and creative ways to design new visuals based off of like inspired ones, like an improved scatter chart or things along that nature for sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you get hands on with some of this stuff today for sure. But yeah, I think whenever you want to get started, I can flip over to the screen and we can take a look at some of the things we've just been speaking about.
Yeah, no worries. Off we go.
There we go.
All right. So, Plotly, if we go into the source, and
Yeah, this is
maybe
there you
maybe
go.
we don't, because it can be a bit difficult on these things as well. If we go into outsource, we'll find that there's a Plotly JS visual by a company called Akvelon. And we find here that we've got some information about the custom visual, and we've also got an option to download the sample. So the workbook that I'm using today, I've working from the sample workbook. I've added my own pages and my own data as well to showcase some of the capabilities of the visual. And with it, we can see that it's based off of Plotly.js and Power BI and a chart editor. So the visual is kind of like a wrapper for an open source sort of declarative charting library, similar to Deneb. Deneb is a custom visual created by Daniel Marsh-Patrick. I'm sure everybody watching would be familiar with the visual. It's great. And that acts as a wrapper for Vega and Vega Lite, which is also an open source a declarative language, but it's a sort of a visualization grammar. So they're quite similar, but slightly different attacks. And I'll walk through that. The difference with Plotly in this case is that with this particular visual, we're using a chart editor, which we'll see in a moment. So if we pop that in, and we just pop in a little bit of data, for example, and what we can do is similar to Charticulator. We can come into the top three. What do you call them?
Ellipses.
Like dots. Ellipses, yes.
Yeah.
And then we come into this custom editor. So it's fairly similar in terms of Charticulator in that we've got our little formatting pane. And it's a similar formatting pane to what we have in Power BI as well. And we can start to see that there's a number of different chart options for us to choose from.
I will say, compared to what I've seen in Charticulator, which does have a templates gallery to look through, the menu seems to be a little bit designed to start from a base chart type and then refine it from there. So I do like that the UI is designed a little bit more intuitively that way.
Yes, and so with Charticulator, we're drawing our marks on the screen as well, which can be a little bit tricky for some people. With Plotly, we're not doing that. We're just using a formatting pane, which makes things a little bit easier, I believe, for a lot of people. So the capabilities of the visual, so I've got a few here, which I'll walk through. So with Plotly, I was able to create this bubble chart, which is quite simple, and a connected scatter plot too. So I'm going to walk through this example of how to create this connected scatter plot. If I go back to the page, and let's see if I can do this live without making a mistake. So I'm going to drop in my data. I'm going to start by adding a trace, and I'm just going to keep a simple scatter chart. So we saw that there's lots of different options. The various options we've got, so we've got Boolean and histogram. We've got some 3D charts, maps, some financial graphs, which is quite useful. I think these candlesticks, waterfalls. We've got some other polar and ternary scatters as well. But I'm going to say with a simple scatter. And on the X, you can see that when we click that, we can see the fields that are in our formatting pane. And one thing to note, so if we're doing a scatter, we want to make sure that our data isn't hidden. So I'll see if that's happened. If I go, I want the miles on the bottom. It looks like it isn't aggregated, so that they're plotting. As if the data was aggregated, you'd only get 1 or 2 plots on the canvas.
Okay.
And then I want the gas. There we go. So here's the primitive scatter, which we can see on here. What we can then do is in our styles, so we've got traces. So under the structure, that's the structure of the plots in the graph. Style tab, we can, this is the theme. So we can hit into traces, which is our scatters, points, and I want to display lines and a connected scatter plot. Now, sometimes the scatter won't be ordered how we want it to be ordered. Oops, we don't want to do that. So what we can do is we can hit on our trace, go into transform, and here we can see quite clearly we've got filter, transforms our data to filter out data from a trace. We can split things into multiple categories, aggregate, and then sort. So in the case that the line hasn't seen how I've popped in that the line has just gone from left to right, don't want that. We can sort by, it did it naturally by year as well. So ascending or descending. So that gives us that extra functionality.
I like that all of this so far has required very little code, which has been really nice.
Very little.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you'll notice is that as we're building it out, it's generating the code under a JSON. So each time we add to the chart, we're building out the JSON structure underneath, which is very, very useful because later, if we need to, we can modify that JSON with additional traces that aren't available to us immediately. So we're back into our traces. And what we can now do is just make some slight modifications. So we can change the size of these points if we want it to be variable. I can drag in, I might want them to increase by year, but I won't do that for now. We can change out the size of the points and the types of points. So a lot of different styling options to choose from in terms of what points we'd like to see. I might want stars, or I'm going back to my little circle. We can so I do want to change the color.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that was color, not size. So I want to change the color by year. So when I chose that is because we don't have an arrow button along the line. So I've figured that the color would be an easier way to follow the trace. And within it, and we can play around with various different options. Increase the size, add a border, change the border. We can play around with the number of points to show.
Okay, I
with
like
the
that.
line,
Yeah.
we can change, obviously, the colors of the lines. I won't go through all the formatting options in every graph I show, but I am at the moment. And also the line shapes as well. So I've put in a smooth line here, which we can.
A question on the line formatting a little bit, like, cause I at least like the KPI dots onto here. It's kind of halfway towards what a lot of people like, cause like some chart software allows you to have a thick line that actually has a gradient built into the line itself, and it's doing it at least with the data points. But is there any kind of color formatting that can be applied directly to the line, or can it only be applied to the data points? Out of curiosity.
Not through this interface.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure whether you could do it through the JSON. I think that's possible. Not from what I currently understand.
Yeah, no worries.
And then there's various other things as well. We can customize the tooltips. You want to see, and there's also error bar functionality as well. But that's about it for scatter plot. I'm not going to. You can type in directly on the graph to change the axes names, stylings underneath that. What I will do though, the annotation section, we can also annotate with shapes and images. So what I might do is add an annotation. I'm going to click somewhere on the chart. I might move it around. I can get rid of the arrow if I wanted to. And then pop in whatever text I feel. I want this bold. And we want this italic. So, and then we can move that around the canvas as well.
Okay.
And one thing that is a little bit Plotly that you really need to do is you make sure you save before you exit up. Also, you can adjust this down in the JSON if this moves around. You can find where it's type in the points to stop it from jumping
Okay.
around. But always make sure you save. Otherwise, when you get out of the editor, it's not there and it's missing.
Oh, so it
And yes.
backing out does not autosave then. Okay.
No.
I'm assuming you've probably
So
learned the
yeah,
hard way on that a little bit. We're like, oh no, 15 minutes of work.
exactly. So
Yeah.
always do that. And there we have it. So that's a Plotly visual. This I think on the Plotly visual compared to Deneb, as I don't believe that it's interactive. So we can filter this visual with other visuals and with the filter, but we can't click on the visual and have it interact with other Power BI visuals. But that's usually not a big sticking point for a lot of people.
Can you mention that last part just one more time about the interactions with other visuals?
Yeah, so other visuals can filter and cross highlight with this one.
Mm-hmm.
We can have slices add to the page that will filter
Mm-hmm.
this visual, but we won't be able to cross highlight or filter from the visual to other visuals.
Okay, so
Did that make sense?
yes, yes. So basically the in-visual selections of specific categories and or periods in this case can't you can get tooltips for them, but you can't click them to filter any other native
Other
visuals.
visuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something that could be hacked to be done in in the JSON file, or is that just a limitation of I would say the how the visual itself the framework for it is coded? If you or do you
Oh,
know?
I'd suggest it's a bit limitation.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so that was the first one. So that was a challenge that you can find in the Workout Wednesday, which you can follow along with. I still have yet to do a solution, get that up and running soon. But here you can see the report and the instructions to follow along if that's something anybody would like to do themselves.
Excellent.
Yeah, so coming along to this bubble chart, I'm not going to walk through this, but this style, it's also using a scatter, this time without the lines. And what we've done is, what I didn't do in the last one is change the points by size. Well, there it is, as well. So I've made the points variable by size. The other thing that I've also done, which I'm going to show in the next visual, enabled a transform, and that's to split by the entity, which puts it out into a different categories and different colors. So the beautiful thing about this chart is that you won't be able to do this in the native custom scatter plot because of the categorical axes. There isn't able to, but you obviously can with this chart.
It's almost something you could want as that slightly looks like something that could be a cool poster you'd see in like a dorm room. That the previous one that has some cool like information or like a almost like a flow chart type graph.
Yeah, for sure. So with this next visual, just demonstrating here, you can put labels on your scatters as well. Is showing that split feature. So coming in and creating a new visual, I have just some simple financial data for this one.
And at a very basic
This-
perspective, the thing that just still irks me that the native line chart does not have is why couldn't we have spline lines? Like I want curved, rounded lines. Like it's one of the reasons I use step because at least step is designed to be hard angles, but I hate the pointed aspect of a line like that. I don't think it looks nearly as pretty as something like that when you can just round the edges a bit.
Absolutely not. It always adds that little extra, doesn't it? And
Hmm.
curves are very attractive, right? We're all attracted to curves.
Exactly.
So and it does, it makes the whole report page more visually. So if everything's square and boxy, it's quite no, I would say aggravating. I will say aggravating because I can't think of a better word to our eyes. But a few curves in there really makes a dashboard pop for sure. So coming along and popping in a line. And then here I will be putting, what am I doing? Sales on the Y. Okay. And then the date. Oh, bloody hell. That's what I've done. I have still got auto date time because it's just a, what the hell here?
It's starting to become a Pollock painting. I love it.
All right. Date. There we go. Oh, I've got them the wrong way around.
Oh, X and Y, yeah.
Oh, that's weird. What am I doing?
It's one of the ways, like, and I'm trying to think to figure it out myself, because you want month and year on the X, you want size on the Y. Yeah. I feel like it's going upwards instead of to the side though. So however it's tracing, it's going vertical instead of horizontal.
It's going vertically, but there's usually an option to split them to horizontal and vertically. I don't know why it's not showing me that option at the moment. That's hilarious.
I always just go off that the IT crowd. If it's broken, just try turning it on and off again.
That's hilarious. Why is that not working now?
Could always reverse engineer from the completed one if there's an issue with a starting one too.
Oh no, I'm gonna try it.
She's like,
I'm gonna get this right.
All right.
I gotta get it right. Let's go date, sales.
Starting to look closer. Oh, wait, that's weird because the scatter looked correct, at least, huh? And there's no option to like choose the. Oh yeah, you said there should be normally a pop-up that lets you choose the direction.
Yeah. That is weird. All right, trust me.
Yeah, see, I call them gremlins. Anytime something goes wrong with a tool, there's like in the software somewhere, there's just a gremlin mucking stuff about, and I'll have a talk with them later.
Yeah, you would do that. All right. Anyway, just trust me on this one. You usually let it to go horizontally because I was trying to demonstrate later in the demonstration how you can get your lines to go vertically, but we seem to have jumped ahead a little bit.
I'll just say like quickly, Ben just comments like it doesn't work just because you're presenting. That's the rule of the universe. If you're presenting, things have to break.
Exactly.
It's Murphy's law.
Yeah. All right. So if I don't want to do it now because I'm scared. You
Copy
can see
paste
that
the visual. Yeah. Ooh, okay, there you go. Yeah, it's still working. Yeah.
So we've got our country, sales, and date in here, right? And because we've got that underlying data structure is a bit funny, we need to come in and hit our transform. And we're splitting by country here. So there we've got different lines for each of the countries. With the legend as well, so coming in, we can change the position of a legending. So I've moved it around from where it once was. And you can place the positioning. Coming back into our traces, so we've separated them out by country. And then we can add different things to our lines, right? So we can smooth them out. So individually, so we've got one for each country. So we can style each of our lines individually if we wanted to, or by type, which would be the whole lot. Like so.
That's cool.
So I'm going to do it by type.
I mean, if you wanted to do like a stepped and a smoothed or something like that to distinguish them a bit more, like I like that you can customize them individually. I mean, our limitation is what thickness and line style, like dotted, dashed, or solid. The base line chart's pretty limited.
Yeah, and then we can also do that as well. So we've got those options as well. We've also got fill. So we can do to previous X, Y, and so this is where we can get those area between lines as well happening. That as well. But
Yeah, well, I'm curious, like, what are some of these? Yeah, look like. So previous, why is that? What? Oh, okay, so, okay,
yes, an overlay, and we can
yeah,
do that.
that's fun.
So yeah, I'm going very, very detailed into this at the moment. Error bars as well, so we can add error bars onto those if we really, really wanted to. And with error, a fair bit of other features, which I'm not going to go into, but we can do those as well. So
There's so many
yeah, so
customizations
that's
for this. This is great.
just your simple transforms on your data as well. That's which we can do, and we've got the ability to add nice little range bars on our visuals, which I think is pretty neat. So if you've got big condensed sort of data, this is pretty handy. It's pretty schmick. I quite like it. I think it's a little bit more responsive than some of the options that we have in the custom store at the moment.
It reminds me a bit of the
Also,
timeline scrubber slicer that like
yeah,
Microsoft makes, where you can like, yeah, you can drag the time brush kind of over a section and kind of focus on that. That's cool. That's just an out of the box feature you can just kind of turn on, or
yes, it is. So here, I won't go through building this one, but we can add hierarchy by adding extra fields in the one segment. Under our styles, under traces, there's a little option under axes. It's under axes, isn't it?
zoom interactivity. Sounds like that. Maybe that might be
Range
right.
slider.
Oh,
There we
range
go.
slider. Okay.
So it's here.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, okay. And that just it automatically provides a summarized, compact chart and okay, yeah, all the tools built into that. That's really cool. Okay. I like that one.
Yeah, so do I. I think I might use this one again.
Yeah.
So that's another little feature which I quite enjoy. Similarly with the thing, we can start to get a bit more complex. So we can have composite charts where we can layer traces on top of each other. So like you can with our Charticulator and Deneb, we can do this too. So here, if we go in, how are we going for time anyway?
Oh, we're
Plenty
good.
of time.
Yeah, plenty of time.
So we can add a bar trace, which here I've done, and I have filtered this time by gender by selecting the field, choosing our little operators, and then here I've just entered in the female. And then created a line. So this was demonstrating that we can do it vertically, which I've already demonstrated now. And also done a transform on that particular trace as well. So I've also filtered by gender and I've sorted, which again, so that we've got it going in the right order on that visual. And so,
And I'd guess with that line, you probably have freedom to also be able to choose whether or not the bars or the line are in front, shade the line, like lots of like configurations like that. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And so with this, I've also done the same. So I've added the bars and filtered by the gender on the other side as well. And the difference with this one, so if we're going into our traces, our bar grouping, sizing, and spacing. So if we were to group them, we're going to stack them. The overlaid, you won't be able to see the difference here because they're negative. I've got positive and negative values, making this go negative to split them out.
Okay.
But we can overlay At the moment, I've chosen the positive and negative stacked. And probably all I need to show for that one. But what I've done here is because there's this negative values on these axes, what I have done is in a different, not in this one, I've got another example in the back, is I've been able to come into the JSON and add some extra information into here to type over these, so hard code the values to make these positive values on either side as well. So we've got additional flexibility to do that as well. I think I've got it somewhere at the back. I might show it a little bit later. Let's see. Like that.
Oh,
So there's
excellent.
additional.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, you can basically do like if you go into the advanced settings essentially and start to modify the code, you can do custom formatting. Now you can do that for the axis. The data labels when you're hovering over those, would there be a way to maybe do something similar in the JSON code as well as flip the negative data label values to show as positive?
There should be. Yeah.
Okay, I'd figure so, yeah, because it's just basically a formatting thing. I did have one quick question
Correct.
from Evan, just and I'm fairly sure it is fully free, but is there any licensing cost to using this at all?
No,
Okay,
I haven't
perfect.
paid.
Yeah, well, it's one of those like once you publish or something, you have to put in a license key with some custom visuals. But yeah, that's what I thought. Like the fact that this is also a free visual, just like Deneb or Charticulator, is really nice. I am curious what uh, Akvelon gets out of this as the developer, because normally I don't see visuals this well built that are usually free. So I would be curious what their um, marketing incentives are for it.
I wouldn't know. I would
Yeah.
not know. I
If
don't
any
think I would have got
if anyone
paid.
from Akvelon ever watches this stream, like is curious to speak about it, feel free to ping me. But yeah, I always have a curiosity when things are free. What's the what's the incentive for the company? But at least it's good for us as developers that we have a free visual like this. And I drop people the link to the app source directly into the chat.
Yeah, awesome. So again, we can also do subplots, right? So we can layer charts within charts or side by side as well, which is another nifty little
Huh.
feature. There's also to be conscious of when using this as well. So we've got all this data under in our visual. So we needed it to not be summarized to create a scatter. What that
Hmm.
does is that when you build a bar chart, you get all these little pieces here, like these little individual things stacked on top of each other, which is not ideal. We don't want that. So dealing with data that we haven't aggregated in our fields well, we need to perform those aggregations on the bars. Yeah, so as we've done before, which I've demonstrated, we will aggregate, do a transform, aggregate by country, and then put a sum on that. So that's how we deal with those. So there's a few visuals where people have left them looking like this. When you don't need to, you can have a nice smooth bar. And so I won't build it out from scratch. We can add our simple scatter chart. We can add a bar chart, and we can style and position our axes right in the subplot section. So we can stick where we want to uh, put our axes. So show there. See how we've got the charts kind of laying on top of each other. No, it's not going to do it. We've got the charts laying on top of each other. That we can change that, and with the subplots, if we make sure there's no overlay, we can, it's not gonna, we can move them like so. So this is on top of each other, but we can also stack them side by side as well if we wanted to, which is a pretty neat feature.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I'm getting a clarification from a question from someone in the chat, but I believe they were asking about a, say like a stacked slash clustered bar combo, and I've seen some custom visuals and other platforms do that. But basically, like let's say per country, you have one bar that is stacked with a solo bar like next to it, or some series of solo bars next to it.
Don't see why you couldn't do it. Are they
Yeah, because
wanting
at least
to
in like
know?
Charticulator, you can. You just have to add, all the pieces and everything, and then have them anchored to the categories along the axis. But yeah, if you can stack it like this, I'm assuming you can overlay them. They just have to map to the same width of whatever axes they're being used on.
I think there's a grouping option. So
Oh,
if you
okay,
split them out and then you group them, you'll be able to create those types of
nice.
bars as well. And we've got our normal 2D scatters. We can also do a 3D scatter, which is pretty neat. So generally, 3D isn't always the best option to view things. They can be handy when they're interactive. So sometimes I don't like to use a bubble chart plots, using the 3 dimensions in that way, because I don't tend to find them that easy to read and effective. And so in some instances, having a 3D scatter with the 3 dimensions can actually be a little bit more effective in looking at the three dimensions or variables or whatever. And so, not something that we tend to use a lot in business intelligence. I don't doubt there's ever really much of a need for it. But for other fields and domains, this is quite a plot to have.
I feel like people who do CAD work or use that type of software for maybe design or architecture, or individuals who are already used to working with any kind of 3D mapping technologies would probably enjoy something like this to look at their data for. But they're already used and accustomed to visualizing information in a 3D space. Because like you said, it's more cognitive load to um, for your brain to have to figure out like what the significance of that dot in this location is.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of other 3D things got available here, so like lines, surface, mesh plots, and the stream tubes. And these are actually quite useful for those that are working in with weather data or environmental
Hmm.
sporting data too. So any kind of work with vectors, right? So this is particularly useful. Um, Again, you probably wouldn't be using Power BI to be doing all these analyses, but sometimes you might, want to bring in some of that stuff to present or demonstrate certain things. So you might, have a design parts of that analysis into Power BI as well. So it's pretty useful. I don't know that. So the only other tool that I can think of source that has this 3D capability would be the Sundance visual. And that's actually based, I think that's Vega. That's based off of Vega. So they have the 3D rendering off of that language. So this is with Plotly.
Excellent. Okay. And so yeah, so a little bit of a just curiosity about the background for uh is it Plotty or Plotly?
Plotly, yeah.
Plotly. Okay, perfect. With Plotly, the uh is that something that's kind of been around similarly as long as like the Vanga language, or is it an older kind of visual platform? I'm not
I
familiar with it myself.
I don't know whether it's been around longer or not, but it's been around for a while. So
Okay.
a lot of data scientists will use it with Python. So you get the Plotly Chart Studio, which we can edit your. So this is the JavaScript. So this is
Mm-hmm.
more what I'm interested in. So this is where we can go to find out more, get to learn about it, how we can find some templates in the community as well. Um, and we can see we can use it with Python and R and things like that as well. And we get an online, this is a community forum that has some interesting things done by community members and an online graph editor. So this is what we're seeing in that Plotly.js visual. Limited if I'm getting the curve fitting or the moving average in it. Um, and so, a lot of data scientists will use it with Python in little Jupyter notebooks and things like that. Similarly, with Altair, which is the Vega and the Vega like
Mm-hmm.
in the Jupyter notebook. So it's been around for quite, I don't know how long. I can't really say, but yeah.
Excellent. Evan did have a, let me pop this onto the screen. He was wanting to know, is there a maximum amount of rows that the 2D histogram can basically display?
I don't know.
You're gonna
I
throw
don't know.
a lot of data at it until it breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I was about to say that. Yeah, I actually haven't put an awful lot. So I've only got test data in here. I haven't put, I think this children when data was fairly hefty. And it's been fairly performant. I don't think I've had any worries with it in terms of what it can load and render. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I haven't actually tested that.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm
And
actually
so
looking it up. The Plotly SVG drawing. So it's I mean, at least off of their base documentation, it's like 500,000 data points for line charts. Uh, I don't. That's for outside of Power BI. So I'm wondering if that's inherited into there. But in theory, it should be able to load a lot more than some of the base visuals that Power BI can do.
I don't know. I'm not a developer, so I couldn't answer.
If anybody finds out later, feel free to drop that into the comment under the video, and I'll promote that comment as well, just so the people tuning in on a future day can know what the actual limitation is for it. Oh, it looks like Daniel Marsh Patrick. He's on the call, and he'll go look it up. So
Oh,
there you go.
excellent.
He says hi.
So hello, nice to see you, hear you. My favorite part of the Plotly thing. So there's the violin plots, and there in here I've done split violins. Ooh, as well. The wonderful thing that I like about this one is that of all the custom visuals that we've got in the app source, I think that Plotly is probably, I find personally, the most versatile for box plots and violin plots. There's a lot you can do with these, and there's a great bigger flexibility with these visuals. So with wonderful in our toolset now to have chart builders such as Charticulator, Deneb, and Plotly. And there's uses for all of them. So I'd go to Charticulator, for example, if I wanted to build a polar or a radial plot or a custom path plot. I would head into Charticulator because I feel that the Charticulator is easier for me personally to do those types of plots than the other two visuals. I'd head into Plotly mostly for the violin box plots, and maybe if I wanted a nice line chart with some annotations and some call outs and have really good storytelling on that. So and I'm presenting for that. Otherwise, if I'm just doing a dashboard, I don't need those annotations. But if I'm doing presenting information, I would probably come into Plotly for that. And definitely violins and the box plots. And then Deneb is pretty much everything. Is the Vega and the Vega Lite is a lot more expressive, and it's a lot more versatile, and there's a lot more you can build in with that as well. And Daniel does a very good job with the Deneb visual because he's got wonderful attention to detail. The user experience in Deneb is amazing as well. So plus you got hidden extras like pattern fill and gradient fill. But coming in, I'm digressing, blah, 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 blah. If I want to put in, say, body mass, species, things, I can come in and choose a box plot or a violin. I'll put my body mass species here and my body mass on the Y. And here we've got options. See, this is what I was missing before. So you've got an orientation of vertical and horizontal.
Yeah, it's like kind of interesting that it popped up for that one, but it was. I wonder if this is maybe a bug or something. Yeah, mysterious checkbox got to get clicked.
To our and there's a lot we've got. So we've got, I don't have all the data and I haven't split the data out, but we can do things like groupings. So we can group violins together. We've got outliers, so we can show all or just suspected outliers. We can hide in this case, we can make these lines as well, which we can change symbols, which is shape of. So if we take the jitter, now got strip plots. And we can, if we wanted to, put the plots over the top. Similarly,
cool.
we can. It is so cool. I like it. I'm very excited. I'm very nerdy and geeky about this petition as well. And we can then show the various different sides. We can also clamp if we wanted to the edges. So when you get this density, it assumes the last points, but now we're just clamping to the actual min and max as well. And when we can show our plots if we wanted to, and we can move those around so our box plots can come to the left or the right, and they can change the sizes of them. Yeah, I really, really, really love this bit. This is my favorite part. We can show a mean line, take the box off. Yeah, and these are the hovering tools as well. So this is certainly my favorite part of the Plotly visual. So I'll definitely be using Plotly a lot more often
For these things,
for this
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, for shizzle. And can't believe I said that. For shizzle. How
Well,
old am
there
I?
you go. There you go.
And also, so we saw that we had the JSON underneath, right? So what that is that we can do some templating with it, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. So this is the visual that I created to create a template. Under our little JSON, we can copy to clip, and then in a little notepad or whatever we might have, here we go. To create the template, we can keep the actual values in there, so we can share obtain it if we wanted to. Otherwise, I will take it. What you need to do is just subtract the values or the X and the Y things as well, and that works just fine. So if we come over here to my website, I've got some examples like this, where I've done just that. The color scale is still in there. I can remove that, but I've taken out the data values here, created a JSON template, and so we can now copy that template and then create a new visual. Let's see if this works with different data. This is not going to work because it's live. Let's say I might want, if I go into financials, I should do, and I might put sales. I'll make sure that they're not summarized. There's better ways of doing this, I think, but into yeah, if you've got it, I'm just going to paste it. That works. And it's not going to show anything.
The axis is interesting. We have like okay, oh yeah, and this reminds me of that heat map that Daniel helped me build at one point in Deneb, where it had the total bars basically surrounding it, which is really cool.
All right, there we go. Now I just need to fill out the data values. So I think if you load, you might actually be prompted. I can't remember if you get prompted, but here I am adding the. Sorry, I missed your question. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I was just making a comment on the similarities between this and something that Daniel helped me build in Deneb, which was the heat map with the total bars that were around it, just to show the distribution of data. It's a nice combo. I like a visual plus total bars is a nice way to show it in association, and grand totals essentially visually.
Yeah, I find that I do I do like that. In this case, with scatters as well, when you've got a really dense scatter, sometimes it's actually hard to pinpoint where the middle of that scatter is as well. So I like to do that. I like the histograms to guide my eye in that. Sometimes, with a scatter, you've got massive big points that you're obscuring each other. So definitely prefer that as a visual. So that's the templating feature as well, which is pretty cool. And then we can also customize our JSON as well. So this indicator, for example, I've taken for community gallery, and it uses traces that aren't actually. See how it says this is embarrassing. It indicated traces that actually aren't available when we add those traces. There was a list
Yeah,
of
yeah,
chart
okay.
options. We can still in our JSON refer to other traces that just aren't there. So here we go, type the indicator, gauge, and number as well. So we still got that option to do more if we wanted to, and further customize and refine our visuals as well. So that's what I was sort of demonstrating there, and similarly with a 3D mesh plot as well. So this was also, I borrowed this one from a community gallery doing a similar thing. So it's pretty neat. So there's a chap called Ray Wu that's posting in the Power BI community now a lot on these 3D sort of mesh plots he's using for sporting data. So he's a good person to check in and follow to see what he's doing.
What was the name of it? I can drop
That's
the link in.
um don't have the link. Ray Wu, so he's in the Power BI community. He's been blogging on the Power BI community forum.
Ray
So
Wu.
you'll
Oh,
be able
here
to
we go.
find him there.
WU.
Yeah.
See if I yeah, I'll see if I can dig this guy up.
But yeah, so that's pretty much a very long exploration into our lead. So I've had a lot of fun playing with this.
Yeah, no, I mean the features and like potential for this, I think, is incredibly high. And again, I like the fact that I would say that they all three between this Charticulator and Deneb have their benefits and limitations. This, at least for a person who, if you had 30 minutes to get started, I think you could probably build out something quicker in this than you could in the other two, just because it seems like the learning curve is a little bit less, just because it's mostly drag and drop through the interface. And once you know what wells in there do which things related to it, and you see where you need to go to put your data to shape it. Um, but it seems to be, for the most part, outside of highly customized tweaking, you don't really need to touch the JSON at all. So I like that component of this for sure, just because the interface seems to be, from this demo, fairly intuitive.
Yeah, it is actually. So I mean, I first picked it up and I played around with it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is not really that great. But when I returned back to it and I worked out those little peculiarities in it and how to aggregate that data, which I did before, yes, it definitely is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I even have like a couple of clients where I just might like show them some of the galleries. And another nice thing too is like this has those websites that already show everything that can be built in it. So there's a degree of the art of possible that can be presented. So because if you I mean, if you present a client a blank canvas and a palette of paints and ask him, like, what do you want me to draw, they're not going to know what to ask for. But if you can at least give them a
Yeah.
bunch of like, here's 50 pictures, or do any of these particularly stand out for you? So galleries, I think, are really important for these custom visual builders. I know Deneb has been building up one, Charticulator has a good one, and I guess because this is an open source visualization platform already before it was even in Power BI, there's already and it seems like a healthy community of custom visuals that have been
Yeah.
built out by people for this that you can import into here. So it has a good starting point to kind of just see how customized this can be built, or how bespoke it can get as needed. Yeah, I'm gonna flip back to, there you go, larger screen to talk. But yeah, this has been fantastic today. I've really enjoyed all of this. I like I said, I've not really used it at all up until the demo. So everything that I saw was a way for me to add another tool to my belt as well on recommending to a client if they ever need a bespoke visual built. I have now 3 different platforms that I can recommend. The one downside, of course, as you mentioned at the very beginning, is the fact that it does not do, at least today, does not do cross filtering of any type. So it reminds me a little bit of like how a Python visual would be, where it can render, but once it's rendered, it's kind of a self-contained, just almost picture of the image. But this at least has the benefit of tooltips.
Almost. So
Okay.
it's not just that we can zoom and we can pan, and then there's a little bit more.
Oh, so yeah, okay, yeah,
interactivity.
Yep. And that's
So
the other thing is I
then-
think the out-of-the-box features for this in terms of user interactions is pretty nice. Like Charticulator definitely doesn't have too many of those. Like that, the zoom bar that's built into the bottom and all those little extra features that you just showed. So that does make it highly interactive within the container. Absolutely.
Within the asset, but not with
yeah,
other visuals as well, which
exactly.
Charticulator does out of the box, and Deneb you'd have to work a little to get that to work.
Yep. Very cool. But yeah, thank you so much for showing all this today. I think we had a good amount. Our peak viewership was about 20. We have 23 at the moment. We had about 30 at our peak tuning in, which was a good amount of people all hanging out and excited about custom visualization. So this has been fun.
Cool.
Yeah. But as we wrap up here, I'm getting close to the hour. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or mention before we start to sign off for the day?
No, not really. I think we're close to the hour, so there's nothing really I wanted to add more than that. So check out Wednesday if you haven't. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Workout Wednesdays. And Ben says a thank you, so I'll pass that message on for him. But yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I was happy to host you, and definitely love to have you back on again at some point to talk more about visualizations. It's definitely a thing that's also a passion for me as well. And you're one of the few individuals I think who really gets super heavy and hands-on with making new inventions with visualizations.
Try
sure.
to.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I love
try
seeing that
to
stuff.
anyway.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, if the MVP summit at some point in the near future becomes on person, we can actually meet as well at the MVP conference.
That would be a lot of fun. I'd definitely be looking forward to that.
You'll be in my neck of the woods up here in Washington State.
Oh gosh, I wish I could travel. I'm looking forward to it. Yay!
Yes, sooner than later.
Yes.
Well,
cool.
Excellent.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning, and everyone, I will see you all next week.
Bye.
All right, cheers. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to help support this channel, take a look at our channel memberships as well. And last but not least, please consider sharing this video on social media to help pass on this awesome content and to help the channel grow. So until next time.